Looking at this scene, would you imagine that quarries, lime kilns, and a factory once stood here? It's true. The geologic resources beneath the Grand Parade and points east supported mining and manufacturing industries from the 1780s through the 1970s, almost 2 centuries. In the 1780s, the limestone rock underlying the Grand Parade was found to be highly valuable for use in agriculture and manufacturing. Enterprising individuals started mining the stone and an industry took hold. By the late 1800s, quarries for mining stone and kilns for processing it speckled the area. About a dozen quarries came into operation within what is today the park. The village of Port Kennedy, located near what is now the park's Welcome Center, became a center for the quarrying industry. At one point in the mid-19th century, the Port Kennedy quarries may have been one of the largest limestone operations in the country. Stone from the quarries was used for farming, iron manufacturing, and for building purposes throughout the mid-Atlantic region. The limestone-based industry at Port Kennedy thrived until the latter part of the 19th century. At that point, between 1877 and 1897, the Arid Magnesia Company purchased and consolidated all the quarrying operations, and by 1895 had begun making asbestos pipe insulation in a factory constructed in one of the quarries. The company disposed its manufacturing waste by pumping it into the old quarries and into Port Kennedy Run, a stream that fed into the Schuylkill River. This waste clogged natural waterways and interfered with the naturally occurring drainage system. The Arid Magnesia Company operated until it was purchased in the 1960s by the Keene Corporation. Keene continued manufacturing asbestos products until the plant closed in the 1970s. The land eventually became part of the park. The impact of having waste deposited onto the land over the course of 80 years is now coming to light. In January 1997, during the installation of a fiber optic cable, park staff discovered a suspicious substance in the soil that was later confirmed to contain asbestos from these former waste disposal activities. At the request of the National Park Service, the United States Environmental Protection Agency initiated an emergency response under the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation and Liability Act to abate the immediate risk posed by the potential airborne release of asbestos from contaminated soils. The 112 acres within the park where asbestos and other hazardous substances have been discovered is referred to as the Valley Forge Asbestos Release Site. While the primary contaminant in the site is asbestos, contaminants other than asbestos have been detected at elevated concentrations, including arsenic, lead, and mercury, among others. Today, reminders of the Port Kennedy era of mining, quarrying, and manufacturing dot the eastern portion of the park. Near the Welcome Center, steep quarry walls left behind by the excavation of stone give a peek into the geologic history of the area. North of there, the rolling terrain drops abruptly where quarry pits once were. The scenery in this area looks inviting, but for public safety reasons, it remains off limits until there is a long-term remedy to the soil contamination. Ultimately, the goal is to restore this land for full public use and enjoyment.